everyone. In this video, we are going to determine probability given to a table. In this problem, we have 350 juniors and senior high school students were interviewed and they were asked which social media platform they prefer, Instagram or Snapchat. And this is the result over here. So it says that the total is 350. So then we can go ahead and say that the grand total that we have here should be 350. Now we are going to determine the total for each of the columns and the total for each of the rows. So we start with the juniors. If we add 105 and 45, that should come out 150. And if we add this across for this column right here, 105 plus 85 would be 190. And then if we add this second column right here, 85 plus 115 would be 200. And if we add this row right here, 45 plus 115 is 160. And then we can check if they match up. So this 150 plus 200 is 360. And then if you add 190 and 160, it's 350. Now, if you go to this school and you ask random senior and high school students, what would be the probability that, let's take this first example here. So what is the probability that if you go to the school, you ask a junior and prefers Instagram? So we remember that for and, each of these are actually and. So this one's right here. So let's find this probability. So I'm just gonna represent junior letter J, senior S, Instagram I, and Snapchat S or Snap. So Insta for Instagram and Snap for Snapchat, so we don't get mixed up with the senior and Snapchat. So in this problem right here, we're looking for the probability of juniors and prefers Instagram. So that would be probability of a junior and prefers, we have Instagram. So let's find that probability. That would be equal to, so that's again, it says junior and Instagram. So this one right here, junior Instagram. So that's gonna be 105 over the grand total is 350. So you can leave your answer like this, that should be fine. Or we can have it in proportion, and that is equal to, if you divide these two, this should equal 0.3. Or in percentage, this would come out 30%. So it depends on how the problem, how you're being asked in the problem. So if it's asked for what is the percentage of the juniors that prefers Instagram, so that would be 30%. Okay, now at this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own. And when you're done, and pause it and check your answer. Okay, so we go over the problem here. So here, what is the probability that you ask a senior and prefers Snapchat? So we're going to write a probability that you ask a senior and prefers Snap. So I'm just gonna write Snap so it doesn't get mixed up with the S. So this would be the intersection between senior and Snapchat is 115. So then I'm going to write 115 over the grand total is 350. So then this is the answer. And what does this number, by the way, mean? So because it's like a fraction, what does it mean? So of the 350 possible students that you can ask, 115 of those will have a possibility that they are senior and they prefer Snapchat. So 115 of them out of 350. So the same thing for this. 105 students out of 350 are juniors and prefers Instagram. So in this case right here, if you divide this using calculator, 115 divided by 350 is 0.33, or we can change this to percentage. That would be 33%. So this is 33%. Did you get the same answer as this? 33%? Good. Perfect. Now let's move on to the next example right here. So the first example was and. This time around, the connector that we have here is or. So how do we solve for this? I will there's another video that talks about how we find probability with or on it, and I will put the link of that video in the description box below, but I will put the formula for this probability here with an or on it. So first, it says that the probability of A or B is equal to the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A and B, the intersection between both. So in this problem right here, we are asked what is the probability that you ask a senior or who prefers Instagram. So to set this up, that would be probability that you are able to ask a senior or prefers Instagram. So I'm just gonna write Insta. So what is that probability? First, we are let's say our senior is A and then the Insta is B. So then we can set this up as the probability of senior plus the B here was Insta. So the probability that they prefer Instagram, and then minus probability of A and B. So that would be probability of senior and prefers Instagram. So this is the equation. So we are going to plug in values. First, we have the probability that you ask a senior. Probability that is a senior, that's a total of 200. So I'm going to write 200 over the grand total is 350. So that's the probability that you ask a senior plus the probability that they prefer Instagram. So Instagram total is 190. So that would be 190 over 350 minus the probability that you ask a senior and Instagram. So their intersection. So again, the row that we're looking at is senior and Instagram. So this is the intersection. So senior. So if we look at this one right here, that's a senior and that's Instagram. So these two pens are touching at this point. That's the intersection. So that is 85 minus 350. So I'm going to write 85 minus 350. So then we can go ahead and simplify this. So 200 plus 190 minus 85 is 295 over 350, since all of the denominators are the same. So I can go ahead and write 350. So this is our probability right here. So total of 350 students, there's a probability that you can ask 295 of them that are senior or they prefer Instagram. Or if you want this in decimal, this would be approximately 0.84, or in percentage, it's 84%. At this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try the second problem right here on your own. And when you're done, unpause it and check your answer. Okay, so we go over the problem here. So first, we have the probability that we are able to ask a junior. So probability that it's a junior or they prefer Snapchat. So I'm just going to write Snap. So that would be the probability of a junior plus the probability that they prefer Snapchat minus the probability of a senior and, no, junior. So probability of a junior and prefer Snapchat. So that's a Snap. So we're going to find these values. Probability that it's a junior would be 150 over 350 plus the probability that they prefer Snapchat is 160 over, that's gonna be 350 minus the intersection between the junior and Snapchat is 45 over 350. So then if we if we add 150 plus 160 minus 45 is 265 over 350. And if we want to change this to decimal, this would equal to 0.76 or 76%. Did you get 76% as your answer here? Good. Perfect. Now let's move on to the next example right here. So this time around, we will have complementary. So I will have to write, I will put the formula for the rule for complementary over here. So I'm just gonna put that over here, and then we're gonna so we can try this one right here. So probability that it's not A is actually equal to probability that it's B. So if we are given A and B, so then if it's not A automatic, it means that it's B. Or the other way to do that is 1, because the total probability is 1. So then we can go ahead and say 1 minus probability of A. So these two equations that we have here will give us the probability of A. You can use any of these. It doesn't matter. The answer would just be the same. But I'm going to show both of these formula in the example that we have here. So we have, what is the probability that you ask a student who does not prefer Instagram? So that would be probability of that's gonna be does not prefer Instagram, so not Insta. So I'll just write not Insta. That means they don't prefer Instagram. So that would be equal to the probability of, since we have two choices only, we have Instagram and Snapchat. So if we take this as our A, as the Instagram is the A, so if this is not A, that means it's B, which is a Snapchat. So then we can go ahead and say that is equal to the probability of those who prefer Snapchat. Okay, so then we can go ahead and find this value for Snapchat. That would be 160 over 350. So this is equal to 160 over 350. So you can have this as your final answer, or you can divide it to get the decimal version for this, and that should equal to 0.46 or 46%. So 46% of the students, or of these 350 students, they don't prefer Instagram, because they prefer Snapchat. So that is what this is trying to tell us. So we can actually use the other equation right here. That's 1 minus the probability of A. So I can go ahead and write 1 minus the probability of A. Again, our A was it's not A, so you go ahead and A. So that means that's a probability of those who prefer Instagram. So to do this, that would equal to 1 minus probability that they prefer Instagram is 190. So that would be 190 over 350. And so we can multiply both sides, because you can't subtract this because they don't have the same denominator. So we can actually, to make them the same, or to make them have the same denominator, so I'm going to multiply 350 on both top and bottom for 1. So that's 350 over 350. So pretty much we have 350 over 350, which is actually equal to 1, but we're just trying to make the denominator the same, minus 190 over 350. So this would come out, that's going to be 350, take away 190 is 160. So that's going to be 160 over 350. So pretty much they have the same answer up there. So 160. And so this one right here again is 0.46, or this is 46%. At this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own. And when you're done, pause it and check your answer. Okay, so we go over this problem here. So it says here that we are supposed to look for the probability that is not a senior. So probability that it is not a senior. So then we can find that by, so if it's not a senior, that means it's a junior. So it's the probability that it is a junior. And so in this problem here, probability that it's a junior is 150. So that is 150 over 350. So we can take this as our final answer, or we can have it in decimal, which would equal to 0.43 or 43%. Okay, so let's use the other equation as well. So that's gonna be 1. So if it's not a senior, so we go ahead and say 1 minus probability of senior, that you pick a senior. So that would be probability that is a senior in this problem here is 200. So again, we exactly do the same thing over here. That's gonna be 350 over 350, which is 1, minus probability that it's a senior, would be 200, and that is over 350. That's a senior, so 350 right here. So this would come out 350 minus 200 is 150 over 350, and that would come out to be the same with that of the one that we got over here. Or again, this is 0.43 or 43%. Did you get the same answer as this? Good. Perfect. Now let's have the last example right here. So let's take this last example here. What is the probability that you ask a senior given that a student prefer Instagram? So the connector that we have here is given. So we're done with and, we had or, so we have given here. So this is how we represent this. So probability, so it says here that's a probability that it's a senior. This given that is like a vertical line. So this is read as given that the student prefers Instagram. So this is how we read this. Probability that you ask a senior given that he prefers or she prefers Instagram. So this is read as given that. So in this problem right here, this is what we are going to do. So this is pretty much like a fraction setup ready for us. So we look for the total Instagram. So the total Instagram. So this is the one that will go to the bottom. So let me put the here. So that would go to the bottom, and this one would go to the top. So that would be Instagram total is 190. So I write 190. And then of that 190, there are 85 seniors. So I write 85. And so this is already our answer. Okay, we can actually change this to decimal, that is 0.45, or this is 45%. So 45% of the time you are able to ask a senior given that he or she prefers Instagram. At this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own. And when you're done, unpause it and check your answer. Okay, so we go over the problem here. So in this problem, we are supposed to find the probability that we are able to ask a student that prefers Snapchat. So we go probability that they prefer Snapchat given that they are a junior. So how do we set this up? It's pretty much the same thing as this. So the junior will go to the bottom. The total junior is 150. And then the total of those juniors, of these 150, how many of them prefer Snapchat? It's going to go to the top, and that is 45. And this is our probability. Or we can change this to decimal. 45 divided by 150 is 0.3. Or in percentage, this is 30%. Did you get the same answer as this? Good. Perfect. If you find this video helpful, hit like and subscribe for more math videos. See ya!